Islam, Buddhism, atheism, you name it. In America, we've kind of become used to the fact that other religions have started to exist. And we all have started to kind of understand the reasoning for like why we need to believe what we believe and that sort of thing. Well, one of the largest growing religions today, just in our society, is the Church of Scientology. And this speech is dedicated to detailing the history, beliefs, and present condition of the Church of Scientology. So now that we've kind of started on the topic, we're going to delve into the history a little bit more. Lafayette Ron Hubbard was the founder of Scientology and of the psychotherapy form of Dianetics on which Scientology is based off of. And the journal Religion and Health states that Dianetics is a type of therapy developed by Hubbard that is designed for people to relieve traumatic events and attempt to relieve themselves from those experiences, called engrams. So basically, all your traumatic experiences are called engrams, and Dianetics is the therapy form to try and release those traumatic experiences. And what happened was Hubbard wrote a book on Dianetics, which is the therapy form, and published it. And it became an instant international hit, and it became more than anything that he ever thought it would be. People started to make beliefs and form churches off of it, when really it was just a form of therapy that he created. The first Church of Scientology was formed in California, and international growth actually took more effect than it did in the United States. And churches began to pop up across New Zealand, South Africa, Israel, Australia, and England. In the 1960s, the Church of Scientology struggled with the IRS to figure out if they were an actual church and whether they should be tax exempt or not. And for about 20 years, they fought back and forth with the IRS, and in 1982, the IRS finally recognized them as an actual church, and they were deemed a religion. And Hubbard died 4 years later, so he never really got to see his church become anything great. Now that we've talked about the history, we're going to talk about the beliefs a little bit and what Scientologists believe. Scientology.org states that Scientology addresses the spirit, not the body or mind, and believes that man is far more than a product of his environment or his genes. Essentially what this states is that Scientologists think that we are all immortal beings, and these experiences called engrams through Dianetics, what it is we're trying to recognize these engrams and release them through a process called auditing. Auditing is the process by which you release all these experiences so you can become closer to your inner self and figure out who you truly are. And we are constantly being reincarnated, and that's what each of us are. As humans, we are reincarnated forms of what our immortal beings were. And through releasing these engrams, we can move ourselves up the hierarchy of what they call the bridge of freedom to try and become a better person, essentially. There's no real definition for it. Now that we've kind of talked about the beliefs just a little bit, we're going to touch on what the church looks like today. Scientology is claimed as one of the fastest growing religions, and that's true proportionally. Because according to Scientology.org, they claim to have about 8 million members in their churches and such, but really a religious census was taken and approximately only 80,000 Scientologists exist in the world today. They also claim about 10,000 missions and organizations and affiliates that they have with themselves, when really they list them all out and there are only about 500 organizations that they work with and sponsor. The headquarters for the Church of Scientology is in Clearwater, Florida. It has about 50 buildings, over 2 million square feet, and they host essentially a festival once a year for all members of the Church of Scientology to go and basically enjoy themselves with other members of the church for a weekend. The Church of Scientology plans to install 13 churches in different American cities and 20 international churches across Africa, Canada, Latin America, Europe, and Australia in the coming years. Through this, it's clear that Scientology is more than a simple political or religious movement, but that it's a separate religion with a detailed history, depth to what they believe, and consistent growth. My hope through this speech is that you have learned a little bit more about Scientology, their history, their beliefs, kind of how the church is today, and that you've kind of started to process what it's about. Because Scientology is something that we need to know about as it continues to grow. Thank you.